program consultant. And I'm also a certified RTE, release train engineer for SAFe. Let me actually put my presentation mode on. I'm certified SPC, I'm certified RTE. Of course, I have a few certifications in Scrum as well. I've trained over 1,000 people in Scrum, SAFe, etc. And I'm enabled to train leading SAFe, SAFe product owner, SAFe Scrum Master, and other courses like SAFe teams, etc. And I've been doing this for the past 5 years. I'm also an Agile transformation lead who consult organizations to transform organizations from a waterfall model to a SAFe or a hybrid, because some of the clients are comfortable to go with a hybrid model. It's some comfort they get when they hear the word hybrid rather than saying pure Scrum or pure SAFe. So I consult large enterprises to migrate from a waterfall model to a hybrid or a SAFe model. So without further ado, let's actually kickstart what we're going to look into today. So let me go off the video so that we conserve bandwidth and everybody is able to look at the slide directly. All right. So this is what we're going to look at today. We'll spend some time on waterfall model and the increment delivery. The incremental delivery is nothing but taken from Scrum, but used it SAFe at a team level, right? Then we look at how are teams of teams formed, because Scrum talks about a team, one team. We'll see in SAFe how we can scale it to teams of teams. Can any teams be called team of teams in Agile? Are there any criteria? How can we form them? Then we'll actually get to what is scaled Agile, having known what is a team level structure, what is a team of teams level structure. We'll look at what is a framework, its history, and why it can be beneficial to you. And last but not the least, we'll also look at implementation roadmap. If you want to kickstart SAFe implementation in your organization from scratch, what is the recommended way that SAFe proposes that you take? Of course, there are no hard and fast rules because SAFe does not have hard and fast rules. It's a framework, it's a knowledge base, and it's open for interpretation, and you can use however it suits best for your context. And we'll also talk about certification offerings from SAFe that suit your roles and goals, keeping those in mind. Okay. The one thing I'd like to keep this session is I'd like to keep this session interactive. So if you'd like to ask any question, if you have any doubts, if you want to add to what I'm specifying, please unmute yourself, ask the question, and go back on mute so that everybody else can also participate. The other thing what I promise you today is you're definitely going to take something back from the session, because whatever your current knowledge of SAFe is or Scrum is, the session would focus on examples which are from real life, not technical IT or Scrum related directly, so that anybody who is just starting can also join the bandwagon and understand things better. All right, so let's move on. First of all, we have the waterfall model. In a waterfall model, as you can see, it's a sequential model. It has phases that start with analysis, design, implementation, testing, and finally we deliver a product. Of course, this can be expanded a bit more, like requirement gathering, UAT, etc., etc. But for simplicity, we put it like this. In waterfall model, what happens is there are multiple teams which get involved at various phases, like functional team does designing, development does development and implementation, and test team, and so on and so forth. Waterfall model is basically based on a phase gate approach, which means whenever a certain phase is complete, you need to take a certain approval. For example, if the design is complete, you have the functional design document set that client reviews, gives you an approval, only then you move on to the next phase. If you want to compare this something with a real life, I mean, you want to board an airplane at an airport, right? At the gate, somebody stops you like a policeman and says, hey, can I see your ticket? Can I see your passport? Your journey does not start in the next 10 hours. Please stay outside. We'll only allow somebody in the next 10 hours. The same thing happens when you're trying to board with your luggage. They measure the weight. They give you a boarding pass. Again, security checks. Again, when you're boarding a flight, one more check. At every point in time, you have a gate, an approval, a stamping, something or the other for you to progress to the next phase. What is the disadvantage of it? If there is a delay in one of the previous phases, it has a ripple effect. It just stops all the other phases. If I may request, kindly go on mute. What happens is if one phase is delayed, it has a ripple effects and delays all the other phases. Also, irrespective of the priority of the requirements, whether it's highest priority or lowest priority, all the requirements are delivered to the end. This is not rational, right? This is not something how a system should work, especially in the current digital world, wherein everything is digital and the changes are quite rapid. If you don't adapt to the market conditions, customer requirements quickly, fastly, and align yourself quickly, you would lose the competitive advantage. So that's what would happen. Of course, waterfall model lasts from a couple of months to a couple of years. The project can last for a couple of months to a couple of years. So the thing I wanted to ask you is, what is the disadvantage of having multiple teams working on different phases? Can somebody tell me why having multiple teams working on multiple phases is in a way disadvantageous? Or if you think it's advantageous, even that. Any pointers? Okay, what happens is the function, go ahead.
Well, there is not directly a disadvantage, but there can be a disadvantage if it's the planning is done in the wrong manner, and there are some dependencies that has not been resolved. So it's just more matter of planning rather than working.
Right. That's one of the factors, yes. But let's look at it from a different angle. When the functional team is actually interacting with the client, there are 3 critical points which the functional team did not have ready answers to. And they had multiple meetings with the client and come up with an approach. And what did they do? They prepared a functional design document, FDDs, set of FDDs. Now the development team is not part of the discussion. What they get is a bunch of FDDs. The functional team says, go through the documents. If you have any doubt, schedule a meeting and we'll look into it. So whatever in-depth, in-detail analysis or the know-how that is required to understand the 3 critical areas, the development team may not get everything. And then once it comes to a quality team, it's further less. So there are that many more handoffs from a functional team to the development team to the QA team. So this is one of the disadvantage. Now, SAFe is based on iterative model, which is based on Scrum. But SAFe does not say, hey, only people who practice Scrum can now adapt to SAFe, or only people who worked on Kanban can now adapt to SAFe. Anybody and everybody who has worked on Scrum, who has worked on Kanban, XP, it doesn't matter what you previously worked on, you can adapt to SAFe. And how does SAFe make sure that you can directly adapt to SAFe? One thing what SAFe does is, as people who are familiar with Scrum can look up this slide, the terminology used is not exactly what you use in Scrum, right? If you look at the slide, can somebody who is familiar with Scrum tell me quickly what are the differences they observe on this slide from traditional Scrum?
It's a sprint backlog is called as team backlog here.
Wonderful.
And,
yes.
Sprint planning is called as
iteration planning.
Yeah, and so on and so forth, right? Sprint is replaced by iteration. And the Scrum daily is actually called as the daily stand-up. And of course, some Scrums have 2. There's a product backlog, there is a sprint backlog, but we just have one backlog at a team level. Why does SAFe say we just have one backlog, and why are they adapting a different naming convention? It is to keep the terminology, methodology neutral. Like I've said, whether you come from Scrum, whether you come from Kanban, you should be quickly able to adapt to save and move forward. So team backlog contains all the requirements that may get fulfilled in the future. Why I say may? Because the requirement can be obsolete and taken off. You start with a planning exercise and you go through iteration. The difference from iterative delivery in SAFe to that of Scrum is, in Scrum, we have 4-week iteration. In SAFe, it's recommended that you have 2-week iteration. So you just have a 2-week iteration. You start with the planning. You pull the number of stories based on the team's capacity and priority. And then during the iteration, you have something called as a daily stand-up to actually understand what has been done yesterday, what you're going to do today towards the goals, if there are any impediments. One more thing, what you do as part of the daily stand-up is you do a meet after planning. If there are certain topics that cannot be completed within 15 minutes, but does not require the participation of the whole team, you plan for a meet after, whether it's with a product owner, whether it's with a Scrum Master, and the specific team members who will meet after the daily stand-up and discuss things that need to be discussed. There is a demo wherein you showcase the product that has been developed through the iteration by the team. And once the demo is complete, there is an iteration review. From people's point of view, process point of view, are there any improvements? If yes, we try and put them as improvement backlog items back into the product backlog so that they can be implemented immediately in the next cycle, next iteration. So finally, the value is delivered, right? So this is end-to-end Scrum. As you can see, there are certain differences. The team backlog, iteration planning, these are the differences from the traditional Scrum to that of SAFe. Now let's put Waterfall Model and Scrum together. And let's see why we need this. In Waterfall Model, we design the goals too early. So if the project is for like 4 months, as you can see, the project here lasts for 4 months, there are already 8 iteration cycles, 2-week each, which are happening in an iterative delivery in SAFe. SAFe has shorter learning cycles, which is shorter cycle time. It does not create a huge batch of requirements. So let me ask you one simple question. If today somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I have this wonderful feature for a mobile phone, which is called touch screen. And you need to pay 10,000 extra for having a touch screen for a mobile. What would you say? Would you say it's a wonderful feature, or would you say, get out? Are you willing to pay 10,000 more for a touch screen?
We say it as a wonderful feature, but hesitant to pay, right?
Right. It's a wonderful feature, but every other phone has it, right? If it was in 1990s, 1992 is exactly when the touch phone feature has come up, and there is a debate between whether Siemens brought it up or IBM brought it up, but let's leave that aside. In 1992, if somebody would have said, hey, I'm going to give you a touch screen phone, it would have been a wonderful idea. So why we are discussing that now is, over the course of time, the value of the feature comes down. The features lose their value. So if you're embarking on a project of 4 months, thinking that the requirements, the market conditions, the client requirements, everything are going to be stagnant, that's not the case. Last but not the least, phase gates make you think that progress is being made. When you say design complete, implementation complete, nobody's actually looking at the end product until you come here. But when you look at iterative development, every time an iteration is done, you are able to look at the end product, actually see it, feel it by looking at it, right? So these are the advantages of an iterative delivery. Now, we'll not spend much time here. I'll just quickly go through the differences from the traditional Scrum to that of a SAFe. Is there a difference on this screen? Can you say if there is a difference on the screen when compared to traditional Scrum?
Same, it's the same. Scrum Master, Product Owner, and development.
What about this? Do you call it as an Agile team? Do you call it a Scrum team, or do you call it a development team? All right.
It used to call as a Scrum team.
It's called as a Scrum team, and you call these people as developers or development team. In SAFe, we just have one team with two specialty roles, which is Scrum Master and Product Owner. And the roles are exactly identical to that of Scrum. So I'll not spend much time here. The team consists of 5 to 11 people with two specialty roles. One is a Scrum Master, Product Owner, the other one. Scrum Master takes care of the facilitation role, coaching of the team, reduction of impediments. The Product Owner is the custodian of the team backlog, prioritizing, creating stories along with the team, answering the questions from a customer perspective to the team. And these guys would do everything in their power because they're cross-functional and self-organizing. They do everything in their power to design, develop, build, and finally release the product. So this is pretty straightforward. Now, let's go to team of teams. How does SAFe say you can scale to the next level, team of teams level, right? Let's look at this example. I have one team which can build a house. On top, I have 5 teams. At the bottom, I have 5 teams. But the teams on the top are called some agile teams. But the team on the bottom is called a team of agile teams. Why? The teams from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here are just some agile teams, but the teams here at the bottom are called a team of agile teams. Can you tell me why?
So on the above, they are working individually as a group. But
Yes, correct, Satya.
You're working as a team, like though they are cross-functional, but working together for the.
Yeah, earlier each and every team produced one single product, which is a house, and the former team, the later one, is the producing one single product altogether.
Wonderful, wonderful, Abha. So the difference between these 5 teams is that they are working on individual development, technological and business missions. The way I put it is, if your teams are working on different technological and business missions, they are actually called some agile teams. They have different independent development cycles. If a set of teams are working or aligned to a single technological and business mission, they are called team of agile teams. In SAFe, team of agile teams are called ART, or an agile release train. What is an agile release train? An agile release train is nothing but 5 to 12 teams consisting of approximately 50 to 125 individuals that are aligned to shared business and technology missions. How are they aligned to shared business and technology missions? Because they are working out of a backlog that is called a program backlog. So let me take a pause here and switch to the big picture. So this is Scaled Agile website, and you can see this as a big picture. Let me zoom in on it. There are teams here. This is a team level stuff. And there is a program level here. This is a program level stuff. Let me go into the full mode. At a program level, you have an agile release train. We'll discuss what are these. And you have a large solution wherein you have a solution and then you have a portfolio. So if you look at it, there is a portfolio, large solution, and there is a program level and there is a team level. So team backlog for team level, program backlog for program level, solution backlog and portfolio backlog for the respective levels. So we are talking about program level, which is team of teams. So all the individual teams which are on this train are aligned to common technology and shared business visions. And the features that they develop come out of a single program backlog. And what do they do together? They build an integrated solution. Now, why did we actually stop at 125? Is there a significance to the number 125? So let me ask you a general question. In schools, colleges, wherever we used to study, right? We used to have sections, section 1A, 1B, section 5A, 5C. Why do you think we have sections? Why cannot we combine everybody into one class if the classroom size allows it? Why do we have different sections? Is there a reason for that?
Easy to handle the group of people so that people only study in one class.
Yes, but is there an advantage for that? When I'm
We
addressing
can
40
manage them
people,
easily. We can manage easily.
correct?
We can focus on them easily, and we can try to
Wonderful.
achieve the goal also easily.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is the correct answer, Ashok. The reason why we are capping at 125 is it's based on a number called Dunbar number. You can Google it. It's DUNBAR, Dunbar number, in which it is said that the number of people whom you can effectively communicate and have social relationships is 125. So if you're able to effectively communicate and socially have good relations with 125 people, the cap is placed at 125. So that is what is called a Dunbar number. And because an agile team is cross-functional, self-organizing, obviously an agile release train, which is formed with individual agile teams, is also cross-functional and self-organizing. For example, to take an example of a marriage, if you're part of making a marriage a success, you have a team of your relatives, friends, well-wishers, and some outside guys, like the ones who are doing catering, the ones who are arranging rooms, the ones who are arranging the hall. All these different teams are coming together and having a common mission of making the marriage success, right? And there are dependencies. One team is dependent on the other team. If one team delivers the cards on time, the invitation cards get printed on time, the other team, as per the RSVP, depending on the number of people coming, can book rooms. So one team's input is all directly related to the second team performing their work. There are risks. If the trains are late, if there are no room bookings, these sort of things are internally managed and focused towards a common goal, right? These are all multiple teams coming together, acting as one unit. Let's move on. At team level, we have 3 roles. So do we have any roles at an art level? Of course we do have. What are the roles? Like we have a product owner at a team, we have product management. If it is a single individual, he or she is called a product manager. If it is multiple individuals, they are called product managers. Like a product owner owns, defines stories for a team backlog, a product manager owns a program backlog, defines, prioritizes features. There is somebody called as a release train engineer. I'm certified as a release train engineer, who is called as a chief scrum master. His roles are identical to that of a scrum master at a team level, but he does much more at a team of teams level. He is somebody who organizes, facilitates the events at team of teams level, communicates with the stakeholders, helps manage risk, which is a risk applicable to more than one teams. He is the one who drives relentless improvement. How can my agile release team improve continuously, right? There is an architect. At team level, we don't have an architect. So why do we actually need an architect at team of teams level? Just think about it. I'll discuss these 2 roles and I'll ask the same question again. Why do we need an architect at team of teams level? Okay. The architect is the one who is actually giving us a technical guidance, vision on interfaces, interconnectivities between systems, looking at the larger landscape of the total system we're going to work in based on our context. So system architect gives inputs to individual teams on how they should develop. But why is that required? Just think about it. I'll come back. We also have somebody called as a business owner. Business owner are responsible for governance. As long as business owner is happy, your art functions and art moves forward because they are responsible for governance. They are responsible for return on investment. They are one of the key stakeholders who will be part of your demos. Okay. Last but not least, we have somebody called as a system team. Because it's not a single team, there are multiple teams. You have to integrate the work of multiple teams, plan, integrate it using tools, methodologies, whatever you use in your teams. If the individual teams do not have capacity, which is time, or the skill set, which is technology or know-how of tools and technology for integration, or lack time for integration, end-to-end testing, that's when system team steps in and helps with the team so that their capacity can be, the lack of capacity can be managed, the lack of knowledge can be managed. But you cannot take system team for granted. As the Agile release team matures and moves forward, you should take care of the things that the system team is taking care of, and you should accomplish it within your team. All right. Coming back to a question, why do we need an architect? An architect is a role which is not at a team level. If you look at it, the big picture on Scaled Agile website, we just have a couple of roles here. But at a program level, we have somebody called as an architect. Where is he coming up? Here, you can see system engineer / architect. Why do we need the role of an architect at a higher level?
To guide the team technically, what needs to be used.
He is a solution owner. He designed the overall solution of the product.
Yes, to guide the team is right. He owns the architecture side of the solution is also right. But why do we need an architect to complete the answer? Both answers are right, but let me complete the complete thing. Why do we need an architect? An architect is one level up, somebody who is looking down the ground from a higher vantage point. He is able to see the interconnectivities of the system, understand the system landscape as a whole, thereby guiding the individual team members on what are the protocols to be used, what are the standards that need to be followed. Each and every team cannot have their own protocols, own standards. It's one single integrated solution that they're developing. To keep things in check, to give direction and guidance, an architect communicates, develops, and communicates the technical and architectural vision of the solution. Any questions still here before we move on? Okay, let's move on to the next one. So I have an Agile release train. I have all these roles. So how does everything fit together? How can I show everything in one picture? Here. So you have individual teams, which are here, which are doing their own thing. They have their own individual team backlogs, which contain stories. The stories are nothing but the features decomposed. A feature is something which is a larger work product. We'll come to PI planning. That's when I'll give you the definition of feature. The larger work piece is decomposed, split, cut, sliced into stories and put into individual team backlogs, right? And there are Scrum Masters and product owners. One team can have a single Scrum Master, as you can see, one Scrum Master product owner, or more than one team can have a single Scrum Master and a product owner, right? This Scrum Master is managing 3 teams. This product owner is managing 3 teams. Here it's 2, here it's just 1. Is there a criteria? Yes, it depends on the maturity of the Scrum Master, the capabilities of the product owner, the maturity of a team as such, and also the cost factor. If you want to have 6 product owners and 6 Scrum Master, it will be that much more heavy on the pocket of the company, right? So if the Scrum Masters, if the product owners are mature enough, they're experienced enough, the teams are relatively familiar with the Scrum and safe practices, you can just do away with having one Scrum Master or one product owner for multiple teams. On top of all the Scrum Master, there is a Chief Scrum Master or the release train engineer. On top of all the product owners at a program level, you have a product management. And this is a train which is pulling up features from this and moving forward. So this is an overall view of how an art looks like. Any questions before we move on?
what are the different functions that RTE and PM needs to work together to achieve the goal?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. That's a very wonderful question. Right. So let me, for the sake of everybody's understanding, let me go a few slides back. How do you think a product owner and Scrum Master work together? The product owner would prepare the topics, list of stories, prioritized items for the planning of iteration. Before that is done, there is a meet between a Scrum Master and a product owner, wherein the Scrum Master just visits the product owner and says, hey, is everything ready? Or is the agenda clear? Have you come up with all the things that are required? It's just a friendly meeting, right? So there is a connectivity between these two to move forward with the event in such a way that there is no hindrance. Number one. Number two, the product owner, in some sense, is a custodian of the content at team level content, at a program level feature or a program backlog. He or she is the one who is trying to extract more from the team. He is continuously challenging the team. Your velocity has been so and so for the last 3 times. Can we go with 5 more story points? On the other hand, Scrum Master is the one who protects the team, who talks to the team, understands their problem, and also says, if the direct communication between these two people doesn't happen, he comes in and talks to the product owner. Imagine the same here. We have teams of teams. Now, when there are teams of teams, there are 2 things that are directly more than what is at team level. One, the dependency factor. So if there are dependencies, right, that some team has to deliver something and the other team can work on it and deliver the product, but the other team is not delivering it, the RTE comes in and talks to individual Scrum Masters if the individual Scrum Master is unable to take care of it. The product owner, if there is a priority mismatch, if something had to be done based on individual team priorities, if this team says after planning exercise, can we move this item or a story from our team backlog here? Because they're anyways working on the dependent work product, it makes sense that they continue. We'll take some other piece of work that has no dependency. So the content level ownership is taken by the product manager. So in turn, these two work together, and we'll come to the next slide when we discuss about the art level events. These two work together to make sure that from a dependency point of view, from a risk point of view, from a people side of it, everything is in sync and people are able to present their best foot forward. They have their individual roles, but they work together. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Now we are going to discuss, all right, so we have teams on the teams of teams. Very good, wonderful. How do they work? It's all wonderful conceptually. How do they work? I know if it is a single team, they start with the planning, there is a daily stand-up, there is a demo, there is a retrospective, and we deliver the product. In between, we do something called as a backlog refinement. There is no specific cadence given for that. It depends on us and depends on the context. But how does team of teams do it? There are multiple teams. How do they do it? So before we proceed to the next slide, let me ask you this. What is cadence? What does the word cadence mean?
It's a rhythm.
The occurrence.
Not just an occurrence. The previous, somebody said rhythm. Who's that?
I did, rhythm.
Paul, yes, it's rhythm. Yes. Any other definition? What is cadence? You can Google it.
Everything coming together and working well.
That part, Rakesh, I'd say, yes, it's a partially there and thereabouts. I cannot completely say yes, but that falls into the synchronization bucket. I know where you're coming from. You're right. But specifically, cadence means rhythm, repetition, the things that happen again and again. To give you a real life example, right? Life is completely unpredictable and nobody can deny that. In life, there are certain events which happen on regular intervals. Can anybody give examples of what happen at regular intervals in day-to-day life? What are the things which happen at regular intervals? Day and night, seasons.
Yeah.
So to the unpredictable life, things that happen on Cadence bring predictability. They offer a safety net. Similarly, when things happen to a Cadence, they bring predictability, and business is that much more happier, right? So what is Cadence? You look at the teams. There are 6 teams in an art, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have their individual team cadences, right? Every team is working on its own rhythm, iteration after iteration after iteration after iteration. Whether it's a team 1 or a team 2, it's a 2-week iteration. Start at week 1, end at week 2, end of week 2, and you start with another iteration. So each individual team is working on its own cadence, right? Now, if you look at it, it is one PI. We'll come to what is PI, but just keep in mind that it's one PI. When everything happens in Cadence, synchronization is easy. Now, what is synchronization? This is where I go with the other participants' answer. Different things happening simultaneously. That's a 2-way of an answer. So let me give you an example. If you have an orchestra wherein different musical instruments are being played, right? You have an orchestra. Everybody has their own cadence, right? Everybody has their own rhythm, where to go, where to take a high note, where to take a low note. Somebody's on a violin, somebody's on something else. But together, when they play all the instruments together, it's not noise. It's a symphony. It's a beautiful music. Why is that? Because individual cadences are in sync. So though I have different teams, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they're all in sync. They start at the same time. They have the same iteration duration. And at the end of iteration, all the teams integrate their work product once. And they go on with next iteration. And at the end of next iteration, all the team integrate their work. So you have cadence and you have synchronization. Cadence and synchronization together bring predictability or provide that safety net that business is comfortable with. If there is no cadence, if there is no synchronization, you just are like waterfall model, thinking that everything is fine. You just have the false feasibility, right? Also, if one team is dragging or if one team is not able to integrate, you don't know if the rest of the all product is correct or not, right? Because maybe this is right and rest of all the team is wrong. So synchronization and cadence are really important because they give you chances to integrate the work products together. Now let's look at the negative side of it. You see here, integration slippage, integration slippage, integration slippage. Team 3 here has the same iteration duration, but they've started later to all the other teams. So there is a slippage. This team is unable to integrate. Now let's take the case of team number 4. It has shorter iteration. Though they've started at the same time, it has a shorter cycle. That means all of the team is iterating at 2 weeks. They're iterating at maybe 1.5 week. So integration slippage. Integration slippages will hamper your measure or they'll create lack of transparency. You don't know if the integrated product is functioning as expected or not. Now, this is an open question to you. Why is there an integration slippage? Why? Any guesses?
It's not maintaining its own rhythm, whether it's too fast or too slow.
It is. So if you see these gray lines, they are the ones which are determining that they're out of sync. But this is exactly in sync. So why are we actually not able to? It's simply because team is not able to deliver. This has nothing to do with this slide. The team is unable to deliver. They are starting at the same time. They're also maintaining the same duration, but they're unable to complete their work product. They're not able to deliver their iteration. Maybe because somebody has fallen sick, maybe they have wrong estimates, whatever the reason might be. The integration slippage can also happen because of reasons other than cadence and synchronization.
Kalyan, actually, if they deliver lately, then it's a slippage. But if they deliver early, then how can it be a slippage?
Yes.
Because they are well in time before the time. So still the integration will happen, right?
Right. So what I'd say is, if a team is delivering late, it's an integration slippage. If the team is delivering early, how can it be an integration slippage? When you're working on a team, right, you have a cadence. This is just a team level cadence we are talking about. You have a cadence of discussing dependencies, right? By this time, you have to deliver something so that I pick up and do something. So if you are delivering early, it is called, okay, let me go here. If you are delivering early, there is no problem with it. Your product owner can take it up, but your iteration cycle should be in sync with others. So let me edit this slide and tell you what exactly I mean. If, let's take another small shape. Okay. I have a delivery here. So let's consider that team 2 is iterating exactly as other teams, but it's delivering early. Good. They can deliver early if the product owner is okay, if the dependencies are taken care of, right? They can deliver early, but they need to maintain rhythm as the rest of the team, because the discussion points, the demonstration points, everything will be in sync. So what I'm trying to say is there is a release on demand. If your team is able to deliver early, welcome. Do that. If the product owner agrees with the product management agrees, yes. But you have to be in sync to be part of the demonstrations. You talk about the business owners who are the key stakeholders who will attend the demonstrations, which is a system demo, PI system demo. If you're not in sync, when are you conducting your system demonstration? You're already starting with your planning. When will you be part of the integrated system demo where the business owners are attending? How are you representing it? Things go out of sync when you are not in cadence. That's a wonderful point, that if you're delivering early, there is nobody stopping you. But if you're not sticking to the cadence, the demos and everything else falls apart. All other 5 teams cannot adjust to your rhythm, right?
Kalyan, this is Raghuram.
Yes, Raghuram.
This last one, team 6 integration slippage, line is W05 is correct. It means their release planning is correct, but something else means a spike or something else or environmental problem made an impact on this integration slippage. It means their release is correct time, but slippage is there in integration. Is it that thing?
Their iteration cycle is in sync. They're starting exactly when
Correct.
They're supposed to start.
Okay.
And they're also having the same duration of 2 weeks.
Correct.
But they said they will deliver 10 stories, but they're only able to deliver 7. Maybe they've given wrong estimates. Maybe a couple of the team members who are calculated as part of the capacity have fallen sick. So the 3 stories which are required for integration are not delivered yet. So that's the reason they slip the integration.
Okay, so it means this spike or something they are telling, those things, environmental changes or spike they are telling, na? Those things is not come under this integration slippage?
Whatever the reason might be, if it is causing integration slippage, that could be considered integration slippage. If there are environmental issues, you could actually take care from the system team. System team would help you to actually integrate, give you knowledge on tools, technologies to integrate, and also help you with end-to-end integration testing. If you find that your team is unable to meet, or your team is unable to create that environment required for integration, you can always take help from the system team.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
So irrespective of the reason, if it is integration slippage, it's integration slippage. But this slide is basically for cadence and synchronization. All right. So like we have team level events, what are art level events, right? We have iteration planning, daily stand-up, iteration review, backlog refinement, and retrospective. These happen at all the 6 teams level. These are the cycles. Everything is happening here. All the events are happening here. But what are the events that are at a team of teams level, right? So when you look at it, everything starts, let's look at here. First of all, let's look at the index. The ones which are in light blue are actually at team level. The ones which are in darker color are a team of teams level. These delimiters, if you can see, they are actually to showcase a pattern or an identical nature of the events. We have an iteration planning, we have a PI planning, we have a daily stand-up. It's not similar, but there is a art sync, demo, and backlog refinement, and there is a retrospective, right? We'll discuss. What is PI planning and how is it that this is the starting event of an art? If the PI planning is called the heartbeat of an art, if you're not sticking to the PI planning, if you're not following PI planning, you're not following SAFe. As simple as that. PI planning, the Cadence event PI planning is the heartbeat of SAFe. If you're not following the PI planning, you're not following SAFe, right? So what is PI planning? In an art, typically you have 50 to 125 people. It has business people, it has developers, it has testers, it has product owners, scrum masters, RTs, PMs, business owners. It also has higher level stakeholders who are maybe from an executive board, right? Not as part of the arts. They will come and join the PI planning, the executives. All the 125 people who are, whether they're scrum master, developers, testers, participate in the PI planning, along with executives who are really the stakeholders who wants to give the vision of an organization to the team, participate in the PI planning. So what is a PI planning? For a program cycle of 8 to 12 weeks, we have 2 days of PI planning. It's for 2 days. All the 125 or 50 to 125 people come together in a single room. Of course, these are COVID days, but if possible, they make their travel arrangement and they come and sit in a single room, discuss dependencies. Everyone plans together, manages, understands mission, requirements and designs are discussed, and designs emerge. Why do I say designs emerge? Because if you have certain questions and there are dependencies, you go talk to the other teams and they have certain ideas, and together you go to the architect and you say, hey, we think this is what can be done best. Because everybody from the art and even the stakeholders who are not directly part of art but have a stake in what art is going to deliver, like the executives, etc., are part of the meeting, the decisions are really fast. You don't have to send a mail and wait for 5 days, 6 days. The dependencies are discussed faster. Everybody knows what he or she is supposed to do as part of a team and also as part of an art by delivering the dependencies, by addressing the risks at a higher level. So PI planning brings all the teams, all the product owners, scrum masters, and all the roles of an art together along with executives, and it happens for 2 days. Let me give you an example of my project. When I was working in my last project in SAFe, we had teams from Japan, India, APAC region, and also US. And we could not get full 8 + 8 hours, 2 days, so that everybody can attend, because when it is in morning in Japan, it's really late evening in USA and so on and so forth. Time zone problem. What SAFe suggests in such scenario is you can split this 2-day meeting across 3 days. 6 hours each, or maybe 5 hours each, depending upon how you plan it. Maybe 1 day more, 1 day less, slightly more, slightly less. But you can, in a remote setup, you can make the 2-day event 3 days. So that, what is the basic goal of PI planning? Alignment. The management the product owners, product management, scrum masters, RTs, teams are aligned to a common mission. They understand their dependencies. They know what has to be delivered and for what they have the ownership. And the wonderful thing that happens at the end of PI planning, each team is asked how confident they are to deliver what they've agreed to deliver. That nobody tells a team what to do. The team says we'll be able to deliver this much based on our capacity. Of course, out of the prioritized backlogs, right? And at the end of it, they ask the teams, each individual team in front of the management, in front of the executives, how confident are you to deliver it? And every team member raises a fist of 5. They just raise their hand and showcase the number of fingers. Five confident is extremely confident. I've never seen anybody going down to 2, right? Because 2 days, any questions, any risks, everything is discussed. If somebody says they're just too confident, just 2-finger confident, they're asked why. Can we do something about it? And they can say that they can tell their concerns, and everybody is listening now. This is the beauty of PI planning. Any questions?
This is Suresh. Kalyan.
Yes, Suresh.
If the team is completely new, and if you leave it to them, like how much time they can take, some might say like more time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, Suresh.
So
Definitely.
this kind of situations will come, right?
Definitely. Definitely. You cannot just have 6 equally competent teams, or 5 to 11, right? 5 to 11 teams comprise an art. You cannot have, just take our cricket team. You cannot have same level players, right? I mean, even in the bowling, there is a number 1, number 2. Even in batting, there is a number 1, number 2, right? But together they are a team and they are pulling the weight together, right? The question is, as a team, even if you're not number 1, number 2 bowler or a batsman, as a team, can you win? The same thing happens when a new team is onboarded. There will be a 1 scrum master for the team who is educating them at a team level. There is also an RT who is paying more attention to the team. And they are given much more attention, as well as they know on the job, number 1. Number 2, there is a certification topic, which we'll discuss towards the end of this. Safe for Teams is a certification which teams can take to understand what happens in team, how iterations are executed in SAFe, how PI planning happens. And during the training, we actually do a simulation of PI planning for like 1.5 hours. You will be given features to split into stories, prioritize stories, spikes. Somebody was talking about spikes, enablers. They are called enablers in SAFe. What are enablers? How can you split the stories? You'll plan the team's capacity. You'll come up with objectives. And as a business owner, the objectives are rated. Not all objectives have same weightage. Business owner, who is the key stakeholders, weighs in on the objectives. All these things happen. And of course, if it is a new team which is learning on the job, it's a team task, right? Like I said, if you want to get the marriage done, there will be all sorts of people who are trying to get the marriage done, but together we are working. So it's not a problem at all. It's taken care. From a training point of view, you have resources. From a team point of view, I've seen teams just starting with Scrum, being part of the teams which are already been in safe Scrum practices for more than 6 months, together working on a same art. No problem. So I think we'll pick up some pace here. We are stuck to this slide. So there is a Scrum of Scrums event. There is a PO Sync event. What are these events? Anybody, any guesses? What is Scrum of Scrums? What is PO Sync? The name suggests it. Any guesses on this?
So if I try relating with my current project, so we are dealing with the multiple functional areas of the same project, same domain, I would say, like we are using Workday. So for the different functional areas, we do have one Scrum Master for each. So as and when there are any concerns, anything thing we want to highlight, so we have a meeting wherein all the Scrum Masters go and represent their own functional areas. So that meeting is called as Scrum of Scrums.
Wonderful, wonderful. There is no better definition than that. The Scrum of Scrum meeting is a meeting of all the Scrum Masters across all the teams of an art, which is facilitated or led by an RTE, who is the Chief Scrum Master. If there are any SMEs, subject matter experts that are required from individual teams on top of the Scrum Masters to discuss specific issues, risks, technical issues, or whatever, they can join as well. But Scrum of Scrum is a meeting of all the Scrum Masters across all the teams of an art led by a RTE, right? So what do they discuss? They discuss impediments across an art, right? This can happen for 30 to 60 minutes. It's a time box. And there is no regular cadence, but this actually can happen once a week, right? You can have this once a week. Similarly, a product owner sync also happens, wherein all the product owners across all the teams of an art meet, that is led by product manager or a product management, if it is multiple people, right? They discuss priorities, dependencies. That also happens for like 30 to 60 minutes. I've seen in some of my projects, these two meetings are combined together as one meeting. I'm not sure if it is a good practice. I'm not sure if it is a bad practice because I've not spent too much time on both sides of the spectrum. I've been on projects where these two are different for a long time, but I've not spent too much time on projects where these are combined. So I can still not put my finger and say which is the best practice. So yeah, there is a possibility of combining these two together. Okay, there is a system demo. What is a system demo? At a team level, you give a demonstration of the product that you developed for that iteration. System demo is nothing but all the teams integrating their product for 2 weeks, an integrated product demo at the end of 2 weeks. So let me go back a couple of slides. So there is a system demo here, 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 and here. So there is an iteration demo which is given by team 1. There is a system demo given by all the teams together as an integrated product. So team 2, 3, 4, 5, every team has their internal iteration demo, but the system demo is given together, right? Which is an integrated product. That's what we are saying. Like a backlog refinement, we have a prepare for PI planning, wherein features are split into stories, estimated, discussed with architects, product management, product owners, and they're refined. The priorities adjusted. So this is similar to a backlog refinement, but at an art level, the prepare for PI planning. What is inspect and adapt? We'll not go into detail in inspect and adapt because this has 3 things in it. And that will take more time for us to get into this. But in short, what inspect and adapt gives us opportunity for is, it gives us an opportunity for demo number 3. And you heard me right. You'll be like, hold on. Team is giving its demo and together everybody is giving their demo. Now, where is the third demo coming from? Let's go back. Team is giving its individual demo and every team together is giving an integrated demo, which is a red line. But at the end of the PI, at the end of 8 to 12 weeks, they are giving a one demo of combined integrated solution, which has been developed over the past weeks as part of a single PI plan, single PI cycle, which is 8 to 12 weeks. So this demo that happens at the end of 8 to 12 week cycle, depending upon your cadence for the PI, would contain an integrated system of things developed over the course of all the iterations for that PI. It also gives us an opportunity for problem solving, because retrospective means you need to understand from a people perspective, process perspective, what are the things that you can do better next cycle. So there are a couple of things, like it gives an opportunity for qualitative and quantitative measurements, but we'll not go into that detail in this session. So we start with the PI planning and we start with the PI planning again. In between, we have Scrum of Scrums, PO syncs at a team of teams level. Once every iteration, we give an integrated system demo. In between, we'll do some PI planning, which is actually equivalent to backlog refinement in some ways. in some ways, not exactly the same. And we finally do an inspect and adapt that gives opportunity for a PI system demo, a third demo, which happens only once at the end of the PI. So these are the art level events which are in concentric circles. As you can see, it's a 2-week time box. It's a 8 to 12-week time box. Any questions here?
I'm just curious, practically, when we are giving this integration demo,
right?
Who will give that integration demo?
That's a good question. That's a good question. What SAFe says is the planning exercise is not just a planning exercise of how you do things or what you're going to do, what is the roadmap. It's also an exercise of how you're going to demonstrate at the end of the cycle, right? So beginning of the PI, what you decide is what are things are deliverable and what are things you're going to present at the end of it. Who is going to present it? What is the agenda of a presentation? Because even the PI system demo is not a status report, point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4. The business owners or the stakeholders are more interested in certain things. That's the reason they assign business value. We've not discussed that, but the business owners assign business value to objectives. So what we do is in the order of priority or in the order of interest to the business owners, we put things in the agenda or in the bucket and say, this is how we're going to present it. We talk to the product owners. Is there something else which we want to showcase? We talk to the business owners. Is there something else that you would be interested in on top of this that you want to see? Mm-hmm. So teams of teams decide who will present what is the agenda, and how we're going to go about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Because these are cross-functional self-organizing teams. It's up to them.
Just one very quick question. So are we supposed to demo everything, whatever we have covered in the past, the complete PI? Because I mean, in our current project, what we are doing, we are just taking out few part of what we have delivered, like considering like which makes more business value. So I just wanted to clarify, like, do we consider everything or whatever we have delivered during that PI, or just the high business value one items?
Yeah, I think partly I've already answered that, but let me reiterate. It's ideally you want to demonstrate everything, but if you already demonstrated certain things during the system demo, which happens every 2 weeks, and that does not have a greater impact on the product as such, and the business owners say, okay, you've understood this, this is perfect, this is checked off, this is not required to be demonstrated again in the PI system demo, that's fine. That's exactly what I was saying. Some requirements have more priority than other requirements. And of course, the PI system demo is time boxed. You should look at the time. Not everything can be demonstrated. Having said that, word of caution. If you take a call to not demonstrate certain things yourselves as a team without consulting the product management or a business owners, then what you have is a false velocity, right? I mean, maybe the product delivery is not done. Maybe you promise certain things, but is it done? How are you going to say that certain product delivery has happened to the required degree of satisfaction of the client or a business owner? So as long as the product management, product owner, and the business owners are in sync with you and they say this is fine, we don't need it for the final demo, we're good. So all I'm saying is this call cannot be taken alone by the team or a team of teams without taking the business owners and the product management into consideration. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is Raghuram. Is it like user acceptance testing, user acceptance, or P-1 kind of stuff you are telling here? Before moving production, P-1, something, that one, user acceptance level testing?
Okay, so to answer this question, Paul will come back to you after answering this. Paul, I see you raised your hand. Just give us a minute. Okay, to answer this question, I'll slightly have to go away from the topic that we are discussing today. There is something called as a release on demand, right? What release on demand is, If you see here, CECICD, which means continuous exploration, analysis, to put simply, continuous integration, and continuous So continuous integration, continuous exploration, I don't know, the cat caught my tongue, it's continuous deployment, deployment. That's what I was trying to search for the word. So when you're saying deployment, we're not saying this deployment to a staging environment, Rakesh. It is directly to the production. It's not happening to a staging environment. So if you're delivering directly to production, and to answer somebody else, let me answer both the questions. Somebody has asked, what if a team is delivering early? Good. If the team is delivering early, and if you can already deploy to production, it's encouraged that you do also by taking product owners, product management into consideration, by talking to them. So what is deployment and what is release on demand? Deployment is you develop the product, you're putting into production. But release on demand means the end users are still not able to see it. To give you an example that you understand, for example, on Amazon, there is a Diwali sale day on Diwali, right? But do you think that the development team or the product development team is just waiting for it to turn 12 to promote everything to Amazon site just the last second? No, it's already promoted to production. The super users are able to see how the site looks like. The testing is happening at the back end. Only at the time when the end user or the customer has to see it, using a feature called feature toggles, turning on and off, they release on demand. On the Diwali day, you see all the banners, hey, and all that, right? Now, coming to your question, what you're saying is it similar to user acceptance testing? No, it's not similar to user acceptance testing. It is, the acceptance is already happening in the backend, right? If the client is already part of your team of teams, you're doing it together with them. Let me go back to train. This is a service provider team. For example, let's take any XYZ lab or some company, Infosys, TCS, Wipro, whatever it is. These 5 teams belong to that service provider, and this one team belongs to a client. Or in your individual team, you can have individual team members who are contributing to your product development from the client side. So what do you actually call a user acceptance testing? It depends on your setup. But to answer your question, the demonstration is actually for end user to look at it. He's not testing it himself or herself, and give a value, assign a value and say, this is as per my expectation. This is not as per my expectation. Let's rework on this, etc., etc. So short answer is no, but I could not just say no because there is certain background to it. You'll not be able to understand just by a small no. Hope that explains.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let me ask you one question. Let me open it to the floor. Too much of monologue. 125 is the stoppage. We say 125 team members. We want to stop the product delivery. We want to stop the product delivery at 125. Sorry, let me quickly look at the time because this is German time. I'm always confused. Madhuri, if I may ask, how much more time do we have? Sorry. Yeah, I got it. Thanks. I got it. Yeah. So let me ask you this question. We have 125 team members on a team. What if my product is so complex that I'm building a satellite? Not a satellite system, but actually a satellite which goes into orbit, into space. I'm building a satellite. There is a team which is working on my navigation system. There is a team which is working on my fuel system. There is a team which is actually working on my communication system of the satellite. Every team has 100, 120, 170 people. All these teams are dependent because if the weight of the navigation system is more, the overall satellite weight is more. The fuel system should consider that. The propulsion system should consider that. So what if I have a product, a really, really complex product that requires more than 125 people? Then what we do? All the individual teams are dependent. All the 500 people are working on a satellite. Of course, they're working on different systems, communication system, navigation system, fuel system, whatnot. Then what we do is we have something called as a large solution. So you can work on your individual teams, navigation system, the propulsion system, or whatever. But together, there is a large solution which encompasses this. So let's quickly jump to the big picture. So you see here the big system. So this is a large system. Of course, like you have the roles for a program level, there are also roles for a large system. There is an STE, which is a solution train engineer, who is exactly similar to an RTE, but the next level. There is a product management. Of course, there is a solution management. There is a system architect. There is a solution architect. We'll not discuss what are the events, what are the roles, etc., etc. This is just for letting you know that if there is a really complex system that requires more than 125 people, then yes, there are ways and means in which you can organize that around in large solution. Okay. Any questions still here? All right, let's move to what is safe. Now we are coming to what is safe. SAFe is the world's leading framework for business agility. To succeed in this digital world with agility, to strive in the competitive environment and become number one, this is the number one leading framework. It's a knowledge-based. It's not a set of rules. It does not have rules. It's a knowledge base of proven practices that were proven by practices in the enterprise in this digital age. Waterfall model is a wonderful model. It has done wonders in the past. But in this digital model, wherein the market trends are changing just like that, the customer demands, expectations are growing, and everything, even the core banking facility, which was some day in the past, was when the computer era or the .com era was coming up, people said, no, core banking, insurance, it's never going to be online. But today we have core banking, insurance, manufacturing, everything to some degree or the other impacted by the digital age. They're online. People can do things on their mobile. So to serve customer faster with more predictability, this is the keyword, and higher quality, you need SAFe. If you have worked in your Scrum environment, if you've been part of the Scrum team, the logical progression, as I see, is from Scrum, which is a team level methodology, you should aspire or you should move towards SAFe, which has a lot of scope, which is team of teams level. You have a large solution level, you have a portfolio level, right? Okay. So SAFe across the path, from the past has progressed a lot. As you can see, it started somewhere in 2011, and from version 1, 2, 3, and so on. Today we have SAFe 5.1. So the question to you is, do you think SAFe adapting to the new trends, technological trends, evolving business trends, and updating itself, is it good or bad? What do you think? Is it a good thing what SAFe is doing? Is it a bad thing what SAFe is doing?
I think it is good because SAFe is also, just as what SAFe says, like to be agile, it in itself is also incorporating that agile nature just to adhere with the changing needs of the business. So I think this is what it is also adapting to be agile and more agile for upcoming requirements as per the client's requirements.
So SAFe, that's an apt answer. SAFe has this wonderful thing that people who have been SPCs, SPCTs, once they reach a certain level of knowledge and experience, and people who have been working with SAFe, if they have really some suggestions, you can send across to SAFe. And SAFe does consider that and take it into account as long as they see it fit. But the downside of it, I don't call it downside, but whenever you have a major version change, that is if it is coming from 4 to 5 or 3 to 4, not like 4 to 4.5, when you have a major version change, you may have to take the certification exam again. So if you have a leading safe certification for something, and the version is changed to 5 something, you have to take your certification exam again. Okay, that's the only thing. All right. So we'll quickly look into the dual operating system and then jump to the big picture. All right. SAFe says, okay, traditionally we have a hierarchical model in organization, right? You have the CEO, C-level executives, the middle management, the low management, and the leaf level guys. Traditionally, the organizations have been in the pyramid fashion. And organizations which are in pyramid fashions are, the one disadvantage of organizations in pyramid fashion is they have silos, whether it's a business unit silo, whether it's a test team, development team, whether it's a market unit versus functional team versus whatever it can be, whether it's a geographical silo or a business unit silo, it creates silos. What does silos do is they hamper communication. You're no longer able to communicate, you start escalating. There are delays. And the ultimate focus of the organization, which is customer centricity, is lost. So what does SAFe suggest? Should we do away with the hierarchical model because we are losing some focus in customer centricity? No. What SAFe says is the functional hierarchy is there for a certain reason. It provides stability. It creates repetitiveness. You hire people for certain roles, the HR roles, the management roles. So it creates stability. What it says is you have to have a value stream network in parallel to this, which is a dual operating system, wherein the roles from here are mapped to SAFe roles. Okay, this is a bit too technical. So let me give you an example. Larry Page and Sergey Brin. These are the people who started Google from a warehouse in California. When they started the warehouse, you don't know who the security guard of the warehouse is or who the CEO of it is. All of them or both of them were together developing web search-based algorithms, and they're gelling together naturally, organically, like we discussed, right? Friends, everybody coming together to make a marriage happen. They gel organically towards the goals. So what SAFe suggests is you should create this value stream network, which most successful entrepreneurs are familiar with, the startup network or the value stream network. So how do you do that? SAFe has these roles, right? Product owner, Scrum Master, RT, product management. From the existing hierarchy, you map the roles to these and actually function. Take things forward. So we discuss a bit more on this in our trainings and stuff, but as we are coming closer to last 30 minutes, let me quickly pause here and jump to something called as an implementation roadmap, the last topic for today before we open up for Q&A. Are you guys able to see the screen, the browser, implementation roadmap?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I've just switched from the presentation mode to this, right? So this is a SAFe implementation roadmap. Okay. So what does this say is any organization, if you want to start from scratch and start the SAFe journey, how can you proceed with it? This is just a recommendation from SAFe, right? First, you have a waterfall or agile model, then you want to switch to SAFe. And these are the steps in successfully adapting or moving to SAFe. Okay, when you're in waterfall model, there are two things. Whether you have a burning problem that you need to take care of it and you're reacting to it, or you would say, to meet the demands, I proactively switch to SAFe. Whether it's a reactive or a proactive, you have a burning problem. You have a sense of urgency because of which you want to go SAFe, right? When you start when you decide on going safe and start the journey, you need somebody called as a lean agile change agents. Lean agile change agents, whether within your organization or you hire from outside or you train somebody in the organization, it doesn't matter. There are lean change agents who are SPCs, SPC, safe program consultants like me, who would guide you on the journey, how you can proceed with it. So you can see the steps, how we proceed forward, but on top of it, there are certifications or training courses which are applicable for that particular phase in the journey. So for example, implementing SAFE or SPCs is applicable here. If you want to be the lean change agents, if you want to drive, guide an organization in its safe journey, this is the certification. But you can actually skip this and actually pick up something called as a leading safe. If you are in a managerial position, if you're aspiring to be in a managerial position, if you're a product owner or scrum master, doesn't matter. If you want to get an overview of what all safe is about, right? If you get training just in a scrum master course or a product owner course, it is that much more local to your role. But if you want to understand safe on the whole, or if you want to be aspiring to be in a leadership role, or if you want to be in a leadership role in a safe environment, leading safe is the certification or the training that you need to take. Okay, so once you decide to go safe, you have change agents hired or trained within your organization. Then you have a set of executives, because if you want to drive the change in an organization, you need a guiding coalition, people who have sufficient say in the organization. When I say guiding coalition, the management people who have a sufficient say in the organization. One person, it's difficult to drive this huge change in an enterprise of a given magnitude. So what happens is, any leader, however influential he or she may be, they have their own sphere of influence. Their sphere of influence is limited. So more than 2 people, 3 people come together as leaders, as managers, come together and get trained in leading safe. Who are these people? These are the people who identified that there is a necessity in changing or shifting to safe. These are the people who are willing to invest themselves and their teams, dedicating their teams to the safe journey. So you have switched, you have a lean agile change agents, then you have the management people who are willing to fund your journey. Then there is something called as a value stream identification. We'll come to this because we were in last half an hour. I skipped this topic. We identify where you want to have your art, which value stream, what product, what solution you want to develop. Your company can have tens and hundreds of products, but which value stream you want to start your first art? You do testing of waters, right? You don't want to go a big bang, right? That's what iterative development, empiricism is about. You do with the knowledge what you have and learn from your experiences and move forward. So we identify a single value stream and create an implementation plan. How do you want to go about it? How many teams we need? For each team, do we need one Scrum Master or more than one Scrum Master? What are the team distributions? Preparing the art launch. Do we want to have a team collocated in a single location so that everybody on the team can participate in the events and take the journey forward? Or it does not matter even if they are distributed because it is cost effective, does not matter. How do you want to do that? So when you're doing prepare art launch, this is again when you do leading safe for certain leaders, product manager and product owner courses, because this is when you're launching team of teams. So these are art level certifications, which is a product owner, product management, and Scrum Master and architect roles, right? So this is the phase wherein you do these certifications. Mind you, this is not mandatory to do it at this phase. This is not mandatory to do exactly at this time. You can also do it upfront and be ready for this, right? Then you launch the first art. Once you launch your first art, it's like testing waters. Now you know how the team is doing the PI planning. Are all the teams mature enough? Somebody was asking, one of the teams is not up to the mark, but is it still able to deliver together with the rest of the team or not? Then you coach the art execution. How do you attend art level events? Who is going to lead it? What is the agenda? What is the time box for it? What is the expected outcome for it? That you start with a PI planning with a single art and do that. If this goes well, you launch more arts. If this does not go well and you think there is scope for improvement, you repeat it, rinse and repeat, do it again and again. Once you're confident enough that you can launch more arts, more trains, launch more arts, more trains, extend to the portfolio and accelerate. Let me rephrase this pretty quickly. We start with a need to switch to art. What is your organizational need to switch to art? Then we need somebody to guide us on the journey because this is a new area. We need a tourist guide. It's a new tourist spot where we are venturing into for the first time. So we need somebody who has been there, done that, knows things in and out. Now we started the journey. We need to have certain force in an organization, a coalition of sorts of management who would guide us, fund us, believe in us, and who will invest in this journey. These are the managers. Once that is done, you identify your first value stream, the first integrated product that value stream is not an integrated product, but I'm just saying for the understanding because we did not cover what is value stream. So we start with the first value stream and then create an implementation plan. What is the team structure? How we want to divide the team geographically? How many Scrum Masters? We prepare for an art launch. If team members are not up to the mark, certifications are done, respective certifications, and then you launch an art with a PI planning. As long as you are satisfied, we launch more trains. If there is scope of improvement, you do a couple of more PI plannings for the same art. Once you're satisfied, you launch more trains and extend to the portfolio and then accelerate. Okay, so this is the journey. Leading Safe is one of the most popular certifications that we have in the Safe basket. Safe basket has approximately 14 certifications. Of course, they keep adding to the certification basket. You have architect, Scrum Master, product owner, but Leading Safe covers all the topics like an umbrella, right? Whether you're a Scrum Master, whether you're a product owner, there are pieces of curriculum which overlap with these individual courses from Leading Safe. If you're aspiring to be in a leadership role, if you're starting or if you wish to embark the journey of Safe, I'd suggest Leading Safe would be apt for you. Individually, if you want to say, yes, I'm a Scrum Master now, so can I actually take Safe Scrum Master? Definitely. That will be the logical progression from a Scrum Master of an individual team if you want to take a Scrum Master in Safe. From a product owner, if you want to take a product owner course in Safe, that will be a logical progression. Yes, you can do that as well. There is also something called as a Safe for teams. Somebody was asking, what if my team does not have the maturity to be part of the art? There is something called as a Safe for team wherein we'll take you through how a team can start the iteration, which is planning the iteration, execute the iteration, and complete the iteration. How the team can do a PI planning, how the team can do estimation, how the team can do calculation of story points, capacity calculations, etc., etc. Right? There is also Safe for DevOps and Safe for software engineering. These are more technical courses for somebody who wants to go into DevOps. There is also this. Lean portfolio management. This is also a course which is highly popular with the management. If you want to be part of this portfolio management, if you are somebody like a program manager already, if you aspire to become portfolio manager, or if you want to take care of the portfolio, not just team of teams, this is a certification for you. Release train engineer is also a certification, but I'd not suggest this directly. Of course, you can take this directly, but what I'd suggest is logical progression is from Scrum Master. You can take Leading Safe if you want to go towards a managerial role, or a Safe Scrum Master, and then come to Chief Scrum Master. That's what I'd suggest. Okay, so this is all about implementation roadmap. I'll just quickly cover value streams very briefly, and we'll open it up for questions. But any questions here? This is the certification topic, the implementation topic we wanted to cover. Any certification, any questions here?
Kalyan, Darshan here. So as per your suggestion, first we need to do the certification on leading safe. Then the Scrum Master certification, right?
No, please do not say need to. This is just a recommendation.
Okay.
You can do however you like, but leading safe is like an umbrella which covers, which has the course curriculum that is encompassing all these, right? So if you want to, if you're aspiring for a leadership role, if you want to know what all is happening, even including the Scrum Master role, what additional things happen, right? If you want to know everything, leading safe would be the right course. But if you just say, I'm happy just knowing what I'm supposed to do, then you can go for Scrum Master. Okay. This has the expanse of the curriculum, and the scope that this covers is good. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just take a couple of minutes, value streams, because just have to complete this. Okay. There are two kinds of value streams in SAFe. One is operational value stream. One is a developmental value stream. Why are we discussing this? Because the SAFe journey starts with identifying the value stream. So what is a value stream? As you can see, this is actually a car manufacturer. We start with how many parts we want to buy. Then we buy the parts, we manage the parts, we assemble the car, we do quality inspection, we sell the car, and we deliver the car. This is a life cycle of a car. These are the end points. These are the interaction points between an enterprise and its customer. So operational value streams are a sequence of activities that are needed to deliver a product or a service to the customer. So can somebody give me what are the steps of taking a loan? Just steps. How do you take a loan? What do you do? 3, 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We apply for the loan.
Yeah.
When we submit the documents, they will
Right.
do a CIBIL check and background check.
Right.
And then they will have us a agreement. We will sign the agreement. Then they will transfer the money.
Wonderful. That is the value stream, operational value stream for a bank. You approach a bank, make inquiry, submit your KYC documents. The bank looks into the KYC. If they are fine, they look at your credit history. If that is fine, if that checks out, they look at your salary, your eligibility, and your application. If everything goes through, they'll take your signatures and the credit the amount. That's that value stream. Operational value stream. So operational value stream is simply put the sequence of activities starting to the end that are required for an enterprise or an organization or a bank to deliver a product or a service to a customer. As simple as that. Okay, now we need to identify such a value stream to start our journey, because identification of value streams is extremely important. Now, what are developmental value streams? Every business process has one or more IT-related systems, teams supporting it. For example, let's say you want to do sales, you want to target our audience, you want to target customers, you want to do certain promotional activities, not sales, but you want to do some promotional activities. You do big data analysis of social media. What are the trends? What has been our previous 5-year trend? What is a forecast, etc., etc. So for each step of operational value stream, the underlying system, or let me put it another way, the sequence of activities needed to convert a business hypothesis or a business system into a digitally enabled solution is called a developmental value stream. So if you have an ICICI.com site wherein you can apply the loan online, wherein you can upload your KYC documents online, wherein you can do a video verification of yourself, wherein you can digitally sign your form, and everything happens online end to end. That is nothing but your developmental value stream. So we have an operational value stream, which is a sequence of steps to cater to end user. And we have a developmental stream, which is working behind the operational value stream, supporting it with IT systems. Can only one system support one step of an operational value stream? No, as you can see here, right? The 2 steps are covered with 3 different systems, and one team is handling everything, right? So, but this is an in-depth topic. I just wanted to touch upon this just because we were actually discussing identifying value streams. This is required for you to understand this. So this sums up the topic that I wanted to cover this evening. So if you have any questions, anything, yes, please shoot.
Yeah, Len. So I wanted to ask about one certification, like the Safe Agilist certification. All right. So where does it get placed here? It's in the leading safe, or?
Yes, this is leading safe.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Leading safe is nothing but Safe Agilist. One really good thing about this is you can go here on big picture and you can click any icon. These are clickable. So if you just come here to implementation roadmap and click it, it will take you to the implementation roadmap. And anything, if you want to just click and see, you can just click. Just go here. So short answer is leading safe is Safe Agilist. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from any of the topics we discussed? Any of the questions that about the certification that would suit your role, whatever you want?
Good, this is Suresh.
Yes, sir.
So if we can go through this leading safe training, like we will get a bird's eye view of each and every of its stages.
Bird's eye view of everything that is related to an art. Most of the things that are related to with an art, and some things of the budget, etc., etc. Yes, I cannot say everything because if you look at this diagram, it has so many things right from portfolio to this. But if you are looking at art level and some aspects of a portfolio, leading safe covers everything. The only thing that does not cover is a large solution. It does not cover a large solution, but you would get an idea of how you can actually say a large solution would exist just by looking at a program level, right? The roles are similar. If you have a single train, you have multiple trains. All you need to have more is the events at a large solution level. So to answer you simply, except the large solution level, most of the other topics are covered in leading safe.
Okay. And for the large solution level, which caters to that?
Large solution level, you can actually go for an SPC certification, which is, implementing safe. You can do that. Yeah. Or you can actually have a leading safe certification. And this is, the content here is really readable. It's free. It's not charged. So if you have a leading safe certification and go through the content here, and if you still like feeling you need a large solution training, and up to you. But what I'd say is, if you have a leading safe certification and look at the large solution, more or less you'd have a decent understanding of how to operate in a large solution. So, but it's up to you. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Paul, I think you raised your hand. I cannot see that. There was Paul. Do we need any prerequisites to meet for leading safe? As per safe, you have no prerequisites to attend or take leading safe. But what I would suggest, this is just a suggestion from me, understanding of Scrum methodologies, roles, etc., would be really helpful. Otherwise, there are no prerequisites that safe says are required, or the scaled agile does not say there are prerequisites. But what I would recommend is having understanding of team level Scrum, is really required. There were a few team members who raised their hand. Sorry, I missed them. When I'm on screen share, I cannot see that. Somebody else? Okay, Paul is saying you addressed my question already. Okay, Paul, wonderful. If you have any other questions, just ask, or if you want to type something, just type in the chat. We just have a couple more minutes before I hand over back to Madhuri.
Yeah, one last question. So you had mentioned earlier that for each major version, when it changes from 4 or 4 to 5 and all, so we have to redo the certification. Again, right? So during the certification, is there a kind of a bridge certification kind of we do have to do, or we have to do the complete certification again?
Yes, that's a very good question. You have, in some cases, an upgrade, right? You can take an upgrade. For example, what I've done is I've done my SPC 4.6 and 5.1 released. I've done an upgrade certifications. What are the differences that SAFe big picture has undergone, or SAFe has undergone from 4.6 to 5.1? Those topics I had content, and I've gone through that. I've taken the certification, which is called enablement, and I got my certification. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So SAFe is really wonderful. Actually, it has many dimensions of taking you to team of teams level, large solution level, even the portfolio level. And I would recommend it as a logical progression for anybody who is currently working in a Scrum team or a Scrum role and aspiring to go into team of teams or scale it up with SAFe. That's what is our topic for today, scaling with SAFe. All right, so I think we have all the questions answered. If you still have any questions, please feel free to ask. But Madhuri, I hand over back to you.
Hey, Kalyan, this is Suresh Kunduru. I'm reading out a question on a chat sent to me. Okay. Yeah. Very curious on how backlog refinement is in sync and transparent to everyone, and because it affects team dependencies. So what happens when one team's refinement makes another team's stories as obsolete, something like that?
Okay, that's actually a very good question considering the dependencies. What I've done is I've hidden this PI planning slide because when considering the time that we have for the session today, let me quickly go to the slide. Okay, so what happens in a PI planning is you have set of features. The input to PI planning is 10 or whatever. It says 10, but it can be 8, it can be 9, it can be 12 features. Based on these features would be decomposed and would be allocated to individual teams. That's what is done in the planning context, and teams go into individual breakouts. Of course, there are a few things here. We are not discussing that now. So when you are actually having a piece that is split into smaller pieces and given to individual teams, there is no overlap. There are just dependencies. So if you divide a jigsaw puzzle into smaller pieces and put back, nothing is overlapping other one. They're just falling in place, but there are dependencies. Unless you have another piece from another team, it's not complete. So yes, there are dependencies which are discussed because first you come up with a draft plan, which is reviewed. And then the management looks at all individual teams' plan and says, okay, team 1 says they have a risk with something else that is directly impacting team 5. How can we resolve it? Based on the draft plans, the management review, you have planning adjustments which happen on day 2. And then teams go back with the inputs from adjustments and continue their planning. So there is no overlap to say, there is actually dependency, and dependency is manageable and managed wonderfully in SAFe. Okay, I have some other question. Hope that answers. I don't know the user, but hope that answers. If you still have a question, please do ask.
Hopefully it does, Kalyan, given the time. Thank you.
The question here says, in a sprint, 3 teams work on 3 separate requirements. They must integrate during review. Who tests that and 3 requirements will work together or not. Okay, right. So if you are integrating, right, whether you are taking input or providing input, right, that's what it is. You are integrating, you are either sending data or you're either receiving data or doing both. Whatever you're responsible for, you test that. If you're responsible for sending the data, you test that part, and whichever team is responsible for receiving the data, and the data sits nicely in their product or in their interface or in their UI page, whatever it might be, they'll do that testing. If you have a problem or if you require any help with the integration testing, there is a system team that can come and help with both the teams. There is a catch. The system team is not part of all the discussions, all the meetings, all the slicing and dicing of features into smaller stories. So there is a lot of discussion that happens with the system team before they can even start helping you, right? So whatever your team is responsible for, you test that, and together, once you have your sending of the data, receiving of the data, you have a piece. You both together, or representatives from both teams, can sit down and say, okay, let's look at it together. So first you start with whatever you're responsible for, and then take the next step. Always take the help from system team, but there is a overhead that you have to give the knowledge transition to the system team, because they are not privy to all these meetings where the requirements are discussed, etc., etc. Okay, I see no further questions. I hope all the questions are answered. Thanks, Paul. Okay, anything else, guys? We just have last 5 minutes. Madhuri, I think over to you.
Thank you.
I'll stop my sharing.
Thank you. I would take a few minutes to conclude the session. I'm sharing my screen again. Hope everybody can see my screen. Thank you, Kalyan, for the wonderful session. And also thank you for your exclusive time on a working day on a different time zone as well. And also helping us to build on an agile community. Hope this will help us to kickstart our safe journey.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And I thank one and all for the commitment shown till the end of the session. Now that you have earned these 2 SUs attending this event, you can add these SUs to your Scrum Alliance dashboard under categories. I am giving the link for the blog to how to add SUs on the chat. So that is the link for the blog, and you can just click on it and see the steps how to add your SUs to your Scrum Alliance dashboard, and then you can add 2 SUs there. So our upcoming session on Premier Wednesday is on December 15th, which is topic is Agile Meetup, and the theme is Agile Coaching. And I would request my teammate Ram to kindly give the Premier Wednesday registration link on the chat, please. There you go. That is the URL for the link for the Premier Wednesday registrations for the upcoming session. I would request everybody to go and register for that event as well. Let's wait for a couple of minutes here. I would request everyone to kindly give a valuable detailed feedback. Kindly text your feedback on the Zoom chat, and we'll wait for a couple of minutes here so that we will receive your responses on the chat. We will just wait for a few more minutes and then we will conclude. Thank you, Nitish Sharma. Thank you, Bharati. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you for the wonderful feedback. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. That's really means a lot. Thank you. Thank you very much. So if you give us a video testimonial on the session, you can also earn a gift voucher, which is neatly recorded horizontally. Just a small video, which is 1 to 2 minutes, horizontally recorded one. And you can earn a gift voucher there. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the wonderful feedback.